I launched a profitable e-commerce brand in less than 100 hours, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I did that and how you can do that and how realistic it is to actually make money. No, I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm not going to give you any false lies or anything. I'm not here to make this industry sound amazing and profitable and you're going to become a millionaire. It's a lot of hard work, but I am going to give you some realism in that it is obtainable. And for me, with some dedication and some time, in less than 100 hours, I have started a pretty, in my eyes, a fairly successful e-commerce brand in the automotive space, and I'll tell you guys all about it. If you're new to the channel and you want to hear more about entrepreneurship, personal finance, and investing, please consider subscribing. If you enjoy this video, the content that I provide, or get anything out of the video, please consider liking it and let me know something interesting in the comment section below. I'll respond. So yes, in less than 100 hours sounded good for a title. It was actually probably a good chunk less. It was probably close to 90 hours. I started a fairly successful, what's key here is profitable, e-commerce brand. And it is not a hard industry to get into. It does take time, dedication, more importantly, failure, and just being, a student to the world and understanding problems. And I think that comes down to it. So I'm going to talk about what I did, what you can do, and how realistic it is. So if you want to skip between portions of this video, I'm going to throw a lot of information and content at you guys. Feel free to skip around if you need to. So what did I do? Well, I started a e-commerce brand company. I sell physical products, all of which are on a big wall behind you guys, because I'm using this bedroom as my stock storage where I print and ship things. It's the reality of running a smaller e-commerce brand when you're young. And while many of you guys might think, oh, well, he's not a millionaire. He's not, he's not in a warehouse or anything. The reality is that's just not a reality. And you have to start somewhere small. And my claim to fame here is I bootstrapped it and I've paid $0 in advertising. Yes, you heard me. I have spent $0 in advertising my product, and my products sell pretty regularly. $0 to acquire customers. This many dollars. Many of you guys might start hearing alarm bells and being like, he's lying, he's faking. Well, the reality is I just identified a problem and I provided a solution, and there is a community that exists around that space. Those are the three things that I did, and my product moves. Now, that sounds easier than it was because it took years, 2 or 3 years of really understanding and being part of the community. It was a community that I was already in and passionate about. Yeah, and I was able to identify the problem. I was looking for a problem, and the problem was overpriced parts. So I solved that. Now, I'm not gonna tell you guys too much about the company and exactly what I'm doing because it is doing well, and it isn't that hard to compete in that space, so I don't wanna give away too many secrets. And hopefully you guys don't see that as distrust, but more of trust in that I'm doing something that's working and I don't wanna give that away. And it's a funny thing, a lot of content creators out there just give away what they're doing, but the reality is they're not actually doing it, so it doesn't matter. They're not, if they were doing it and they were to tell you exactly what they did to get there, then you would be a competitor because then it's easy to do and the roadmap is there. So the reality is it's running, and just a quick talk about the numbers. I became profitable in month 3, and that's only because I put in a larger order for goods, and basically what ends up happening now is when I get low, I reorder the products that I make. Right now I'm not adding any products. I stock about 25 products on my store. Some of them are things that I've designed myself, some of them are white label, but the reality is it's it's profitable. And when I said 90 hours there, it takes me about 3 hours a week to maintain. I just went from the time that I started it to the first time that I hit a significant chunk of change, which is not now because I'm doing pretty well. I had a specific goal. It's a smaller market, so I know I'm never gonna have a $10,000 month with the market that I'm in. That sounds like a lot of money, but the reality is the goal is to eventually hit a different market. I'm trying to grow it into a different market. That's a different business plan. But the reality is the first month where I was like, I exceeded my expectation of what my market hold would be. That was about 90 hours. It takes me 3 hours a week to maintain it, and I spend $0 to operate other than my product costs and my shipping costs. So that's what I'm doing. Profitable business in 90 hours. Yes, I'm not including time in that space, but we all have hobbies, and anyone that tells you that you shouldn't monetize your hobby doesn't understand what they're doing and how people make wealth. Wealth and doing really well in the world and becoming financially free is combining something that you love to do, that you understand to your core, and then understanding a problem and solving it. Very few people in this world make wealth that aren't the people that I just described, and they are all doing what I just described. So whatever your hobby is, look at it. So let's back up. What can you do? Sure, if you don't have any hobbies and you're lost, look at different communities. Find communities of people, and this is just generally. So if you have a hobby and there's a community behind it, go for it. But let's say like you're into soccer. We'll use soccer as an example. That's a huge community. A lot of people play soccer, football, depending on where in the world you are. But you might say to yourself, all right, what are all the products that people that play soccer use? You think cleats, boots, wherever you are in the world, soccer balls, nets, training gear, cones. And then you say to yourself, okay, I have access to Facebook groups of all the people that play soccer in different towns around me. I have access to forums around it. You have access to all these communities where the only barrier to entry is your access to social media. So a good example would be if I was selling a product in soccer, let's say the little kids' goals, right? Let's say I wanted to offer a product and sell those just at a cheaper rate, because some business is just that. Like a company, it's such a small market that nobody competes, because larger companies, billion-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar companies don't want to touch such a small market, where the reality is you could make a couple $100,000 a year selling those products. You swoop in, undercut their price, sell the same product more likely because you're sourcing it from Alibaba or something, and you start selling under a private label. And that's the story. So usually people are going to tell you, oh, you need to go spend on Facebook ads, you're going to need to spend all those things. Well, if you want to attack the larger market, you're going to. But the reality is you can probably get free advertising by involving yourselves in the free Facebook group communities, Reddit forums, forums online, local groups around you. If you're in a big enough market and you're selling to enough people, if you involve yourself in those, you're going to get free advertising and convert sales without spending any money to acquire a customer. I'm the perfect example of it. Again, I'm over a year into my business and I've spent $0 in acquiring customers, and I have no reason to do it because I'm in the green, I am profitable, and I'm, handling more orders than I really feel comfortable working with right now. And that might sound silly, but I'm not drop shipping. I'm dealing with all this product stuff on myself, and I have better ROIs doing other businesses. This is a passion project, and it was something that I wanted to try and prove to myself that I could do. That's where you should start. Figure out what communities are around you, find a product, either solve a problem, or maybe the problem you're solving is just barrier to entry or cost of the goods. Get that product cheaper, sell to that community, etc. It's pretty simple. Your time, when you think about your 90, 100 hours, whatever metric, setting up the business, registering the LLC, building a website, getting your product, testing your product, making your first order, stocking your product. And after you've done that, it's involving yourself in those communities and fulfilling orders. I mean, that's at the basis, that's how a lot of bootstrapped companies start. You don't need to go spend thousands of dollars on advertising. You can if you want to attract a much larger community to your store, more clicks, more customers, faster, you can certainly do that. But you can start a business if you spend the time in the first 10% of it of identifying that problem, solving a problem. And again, guys, sometimes the problem is just the price. If you can undercut the price 10, 20% and still make a 30% profit margin, that is a viable business in itself. Let me tell you that again. If you can get a product cheaper, brand it yourself and sell it. Not financial advice, but advice all the same, and what every entrepreneur and every successful entrepreneur is doing out there. And that is just the world of a capital market, a capital society. It is what it is. So where are we at? What are the realities? It's not as hard to start a business as everybody talks. It's not as hard to get into e-commerce. And all those people that are like, I'm going to sell you guys courses, or you should pay me $3,000 so I can give you this roadmap. It's easy to be successful in e-commerce if you have a lot of money and you can test a lot of products by actually selling them, drop shipping them to get early testing to see if you can convert. All of that costs money. I'm telling you guys now that you can start a business that is going to be, for a lot of people, life-changing money without having these massive 5-figure marketing costs, without paying someone a lot of money to take a course. Spend some time, learn a market, Pursue a passion. You know, look at what you love to do. Look at what you know, because if you love to do something, you know it, right? Figure out, are there problems? You know, what could I improve? See if that product already exists over on AliExpress, because you'd be surprised. A company probably makes it. Then what's the barrier? Cost. Save people money and they'll buy your product. It's the greatest example is when you go on Amazon, are you buying the most expensive LED light, or are you buying the cheapest or closer to the cheapest LED light? For example, I'm looking at LED lights on Amazon. One costs $100, 50 costs $10. What am I more likely to buy? The one for $10. Is there one for $2? I'm gonna go look at it just to see. And there's where you win. Now, never sell something for $2 or $10. You should always pick a product that's gonna be $20 or $30 or more, so you can make a 30% return on investment, a 30% profit margin, and still make some money. But the reality is if like a good is being delivered for $80 and you can still make money and deliver it for $50, you're gonna get customers. Even if you don't have the same brand loyalty, you're gonna shave off a significant portion of those customers, and you'll find yourself, after shaving those customers, if it is a repeatable product, you are gonna build a brand. And all of a sudden, you're gonna take some of that brand loyalty and it will be your product. I'm gonna stop talking now because you guys get exactly what I'm talking about. If you enjoyed the video or got any information or benefited at all from the content, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. I appreciate you guys. Have a great day.